another one.
Dealing with burnout and looking for a suggested change. I think I have finally hit full, not just partial burnout, but full burnout. The type that makes you call out of work, the kind that vacation doesn't fix, the kind that makes you want to just not come back to work. It's not fully related to work, but my job is overwhelming and it isn't helping. Sometimes it's my boss's tendency to find flaws in everything. I've accepted that it's just the nature of the job and that even I will stop being able to see the beauty and live in a world of flaws and risks one day. I barely have time to feel proficient in one task before getting buried in five more. I'm getting conflicting instructions like fail fast and often, followed by I'm concerned about your recent mistakes. Today, I had to abruptly end a call because I was suddenly in tears. It's time for a change, and maybe not software testing. I'm considering looking into technical writing since I do that all day anyways. But before I do that, I'm exploring what else I can do with software testing skills. I'm great at databases, but I don't have any automation experience right now. I am rubbish at coding, and I would rather not pursue a role that relies on that skill set. Has anyone moved from software testing into a different type of role where they could still use some of their QA skills and QA mindset? I'd love to hear some suggestions that might help me love my career again. Well, funny that you may ask. Actually, one of my bestest friends went from QA into technical writing. But guess what? Just because they went into QA just because you write bugs and some type of documentation all day long, right? Which you shouldn't be doing that all day as a QA engineer. But just because you might feel that you do that all day long, right? That doesn't mean that that's what technical writers do. Just giving himself a shower over here. My goodness. Does he not know we have a show going on right now? Hello? Hello? Mister? Can you not do that right now? Hello? Yes, I'm talking to you. All right, that's what I'm talking about. Got to put some order around here. I almost had to call Sharon to come take care of this cat for me. Law enforcement in the building. Shout out to our law enforcement professionals. Right? Almost have to get you arrested over there. Okay, sorry about that. Before we were rudely interrupted by this cat over here. No respect. All right, let's keep going. So we're talking about burnout from the job is just too much, right? Because you are starting to say,
I hate it here. I want to go home.
that sucks. So yeah, so we're talking about technical writing, right? So so we're talking about technical writing, right? It's not. I think people have what part of the problem in tech is that you think you know what everybody else does, right? And you don't. Um, you don't really know all the things that the scrum masters do. You don't really know all the things that the product owners do or the product managers do. You don't really know all the things that the project managers do. You don't really know all the things that the software engineers do. You only have a small glimpse into their world, right? So, and I would say that you are even far more removed from the technical writers. The technical writers are not writing defects, they're not writing the documentation mainly for internal people, right? They are writing it for a lot of times the technical writers, they might write it internal, like internal documentation, but they're also writing like client facing documentation on like the manual, how to use stuff, things like that, right? They're translating the technical aspect, and that's why they'll be interviewing the QA people, the software engineers, and stuff like that to find out how the software works, all the ins and outs of it, so they can make it in a way that is understandable for the general public to consume, right? So just because you write documentation all day long does not mean that you are qualified to become a technical writer. What I would say, because when my friend was transitioning to, looking into transitioning from QA, because she used to do QA, and now she's doing technical writing, I said, hey, take a course on it so you can get more familiar with it and that you can be more qualified for the position. Luckily for her, she didn't transition to it like applying for an outside job. She was able to transition from within her company, which is what I always recommended people to do, right? Get your foot in the door, right? Try to transition from within the company instead of going outside of the company and without any experience, because build experience where you are at, right? So whatever you're able to do, like sometimes I see a lot of like nurses, for instance, they want to transition to another role, right? So now they might have went to a boot camp or something like that, and now they're applying, and they're not really getting any feedback, right? Which, if you're a nurse and you're applying for nursing, like I'm sure you can get hired pretty easily for the most part, right? But when you're going to tech, where are your credentials? You know, you don't really have much to put on your resume. So what I would say is, what I normally recommend is like, look within, like, let's say you work for a hospital. Let's stick with the nurse example, right? Let's say you work for a hospital, right? Check if they have an IT department, right? Maybe they have, the hospital has to have a website that needs QA. See if you can speak to HR or whoever, find out who the QA is or the web designers are or whatever. And like, maybe you can still continue to do your job, right? Still do your job, but see if you can like get some more information, be able to do some volunteering or internship or whatever with them, so that you can start, because you tell them like, hey, I'm interested in doing this IT stuff, and I was wondering if I can like see what you guys do and stuff like that, maybe help out and stuff like that, right? The same thing, Sharon, goes for law enforcement, where look within your, like, because it's going to be really, really hard when you try to leave a particular company to go into a totally new field. Is it impossible? It's not. Nothing is impossible, but it's harder, right? But if you can transition from within where you're at, right, to get your foot in the door and start building that experience, now it becomes much easier when you are ready to make the shift to another company, right? And you might even like it at work. Like, you might even like it where you're at when you transition from within and stay there, and who knows, right? So that's typically the advice. But just like trying to transition out of a company, like, I can definitely agree with transitioning out of a role, but transitioning out of a company into a new role where you don't have much experience, that becomes a lot harder. And that's what the person was talking about, where companies used to help you like with your development and transition. They still do, but it's not going to be a company that's going to hire you brand new. It's usually going to be a company who knows you already, and they're going to help you get to, because every company that I've been to, they help you with your development, but you have to have some type of baseline, right? They're not going to hire some brand spanking new person and say, okay, we're going to give you all the education that you need. You don't need to know anything, right? which we spoke about that before, right? But you don't need to know anything. We're going to give you all the education. It doesn't work that way. You have to do for yourself first, and then they will meet you where you're at. But if you're nowhere, then they're not going to meet you nowhere, right? You have to like put in a good chunk of it, and then they say, okay, we can help you with this, we can help you with that. And it's always easier to do from within. All right. So that is my response to that. I don't want to see you dealing with burnout. I do not want to hear you say,
I'm in a bind, Nate.
I don't even know Nate. All right. So with that being said,
if you enjoyed the fascinating information shared in this video and you want more, be sure to hit the subscribe button to Tech Coach Ralph to be notified for new videos.